Hey guys, welcome back to Tip Tuesday. My name is Matthew Sturkey with Stone Mill Log and Timber Homes. Thanks for joining us this week. Last weekend, I attended a home builder show and I had a few questions about carpenter bees and things that you can do, tips that you can do in order to minimize the exposure or prevent carpenter bees. We're not going to talk today about getting rid of them once you have them. We're going to talk about prevention and things that can be done to help prevent carpenter bees. This is not exclusive or isolated to the log and timber frame industry. This is a housing problem that everybody deals with if they've got any type of wood components, wood decks or wood fascia or wood finishes to the exterior. So there's several things that you can do in order to help minimize the exposure and to prevent carpenter bees. Carpenter bees are actually not eating the wood. They're drilling holes in the wood to go in and nest. That's the reason you see evidence of sawdust piles typically where they're drilling their holes. So the first thing is make sure you know and identify what you've got. And if it is carpenter bees, there are several tips for prevention and minimizing that exposure. The first being to stain or paint your wood surfaces. One of the things that we highly recommend, and with all of our log and timber packages, we always provide wood treatment products. The first one is what we call a borate treatment, which is serving as a wood hardener. That actually is something that's sprayed on the wood after the structure is cleaned, after it's built. And that borate treatment, serving as a wood hardener, hardens the wood, makes it more dense, and makes it more difficult for carpenter bees to drill into. It's more of a deterrent for them because they like to drill holes in anything that's soft and anything that is easy for them to drill in. So the borates acting as a wood hardener, the stains, there's actually 2 coats of stains that will eventually go on, a clear coat that goes on by your applicator, and those all are preventative measures to help minimize the exposure for carpenter bees. So if you've got a wood deck, I would recommend painting it or staining it. That is going to help harden the wood and make it less attractive for carpenter bees. So that's the first tip: staining and or painting wood surfaces, borating wood surfaces, untreated wood surfaces, or using pressure treated material and staining and painting that. Carpenter bees love pressure treated material because it's typically made out of sapwood. So you still need to put some kind of stain or some kind of paint on it to that wood to make it less attractive for them. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we talk about a lot before construction ever happens is common sense design practices. What do I mean by that? Well, let's start with this particular image and work our way from the bottom to the top. One is the types of finishes you choose for your deck. Instead of using wood materials for deck, what about doing a concrete floor? Or what about doing a flagstone or a stone floor? What about doing Trex, which is a composite material? Carpenter bees will not drill holes into that kind of material because they can't. It's too hard for them. What about using, instead of wood rails, use metal or aluminum, like you see here in this picture with these metal spindles? Certainly, carpenter bees love certain areas like decks and rails and fascia and material because they can go in and hide from natural predators. They're not as vulnerable, and then they can drill their holes and make their nest. So changing from a wood rail to aluminum or metal will help. Also, these areas, the eaves, the rakes, these areas are called rakes that go up the gable ends. Instead of using wood there, what about fiberboard? Use fiberboard material, cement board, something that can be painted, to match the color that you end up staining the logs. Using hardy board in your gables or gable dormers. So you're creating a product that has prevention or is less likely to have that type of susceptibility. So the types of materials that you choose on your finishes of the exterior of the home, from your decks to your rails to your fascia and material, all play a part in that prevention. The third tip is going to be citrus sprays or citronella candles. The scent of citrus is a deterrent for carpenter bees. They don't like that scent. And so if you can use citronella candles around your the exterior of your porches, that's helpful. Or use a citronella spray, a homemade spray that you can spray on certain trouble spots or areas will help to prevent and to lessen the exposure to carpenter bees. The next thing that you can buy either online or you can buy at Ace Hardware or you can make yourself are the carpenter bee traps. You're creating basically a trap with wood, with a hole already drilled into it, which is inviting them to that surface and it traps them. So it's a good way to catch carpenter bees. It's an effective way and it works. So carpenter bee traps are another option. And then another home remedy is installing wind chimes. Carpenter bees don't like vibrations and they don't like noise. And so that is another deterrent you can use in order to help lessen the amount of exposure for carpenter bees. The other thing too, and this is something that we do at our models, is an annual spray. We have our local pest control company that comes in and sprays our porches, sprays our walls. Obviously, they don't spray the windows and doors, but they spray the outside of the structure. And it is another springtime kind of an annual spraying that helps to lessen the exposure. So there's a ton of things that you can do. Again, this is not just isolated to the log and timber frame industry, but if you have any house, this is preventative maintenance, preventative measures that can help reduce the exposure to carpenter bees so that you have a good experience. Don't wait till it's too late. Take these preventative measures on the front end, and I can assure you, you will cut down on that. So I hope this has been helpful. This is a really important topic because we get asked these questions a lot. And again, these are not conversations that are isolated to the log and timber frame industry. This is part of conversations with the entire housing industry. So the choices you make in the front end on the design and the things that you can do on the front end for preventive measures will help to reduce the exposure to these types of things. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please call us anytime you have questions about this or anything else. We look forward to you joining us next week for more Tip Tuesday. Until then, stay safe and healthy and enjoy this beautiful weather. Take care.